Hello there, Jacob Mushokwa, driving the Haval H6 2-litre 4-wheel drive super luxury. Now, this is an interesting test today. I'll tell you why. We're putting the H6 up against its biggest rival from China. That is the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max.
Hello, you join me and my beard on the inside of a Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max, which sounds a lot like an iPhone, but it isn't. It's actually a car. And today I'm very excited because I'm joined in Cape Town by Jacob Mushokwa himself, and we are going to be comparing this car to a Haval H6. Now, I can guess that there are many South Africans out there who are asking themselves this question: which one should I go for, a Chery or a Haval? And that's what we're here for. But before we get stuck into this review, remember that you can also sell your car through Cars.co.za. Head to our website, click sell car, give us a few details about your car. All of our dealers will bid on your car. You choose the highest bid. Boom, car sold, take your money, go on holiday. Right, let's go. Tiggo 8 versus Haval H6.
Dream, search, drive. Cars.co.za.
When you look at the exterior of this Haval H6, you gotta give the Chinese the credit in terms of the look good factor, the LED lights, the one running tail light at the back. It's just something that looks futuristic and something that's easy on the eye. In fact, a lot of people in modern suburbia look at these cars as a rival to the German manufacturers, just in terms of looks. Haval definitely kills it in the styling factor. So the 2-litre turbo engine has an output of 150 kilowatts and 350 Newton meters of torque. I think it's the perfect engine for the perfect size of car. Now, let's also talk about this gearbox. It's a 7-speed DCT gearbox. Now, what I do like about this gearbox is that the car sort of knows when to get into the right gear. There's no struggle, meaning this drivetrain is pretty solid. Because I do know with some other cars, it seems as though the gearbox isn't mated quite well to the engine. But this one does it right. It is definitely adequate. And in terms of the wheels of the car, it comes with 18-inch alloy wheels. I like how it navigates the bumps on the road. It's not clunky and bumpy.
So let's start with, well, what is this? It is a 7-seater SUV from the Chery brand. It is their flagship car in South Africa right now. It costs 669,000 Rand, which is 68,000 Rand more than the Haval H6. This is the executive model and it comes with all the bells and whistles. I'm not kidding, I can't think of anything that this car doesn't come with, except for actually heated and cooled seats, which I thought it should come with, but it doesn't actually. But other than that, massively impressive interior. The Chinese have come a long, long way. This is a lovely interior to spend some time in. So what's powering the Chery 8 Tiggo Pro Max? A 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol. You actually can't get a diesel from Chery, they only do petrol. And this particular unit is pumping out 187 kilowatts and nearly 400 Newton meters of torque. Now that is like hot hatch power. That's actually more than you get in a Golf 8 GTI. And so this car is pretty sprightly. Overtaking on the highway is not a problem at all. In fact, I'm actually not sure it needs this much power. I mean, it's nice to have, but at the end of the day, it's a family car. It's not like you need to be tackling mountain passes in this thing. But still, it's not a bad thing at all. Too much power is never really a bad thing. However, I think it does have an effect on the fuel economy. Now around town, this car can be a little bit thirsty. We've seen as high as 12 liters to the 100. But on the highway, things get much better. And right now, while I'm talking to you, 7.9 liters to the 100. In fact, it keeps getting better as well. And that's often a criticism of Chinese cars, that they're a bit thirsty, but it seems like they're improving.
So the Haval H6 has a fuel consumption of a claimed 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers. Obviously, in city driving, it tends to be a little thirsty, but on the longer road, that gets a little better. It's the car I'd consider if I was looking at doing more adventures. The kind of car that you want to take out on the long road for December holidays, or even for a boys' weekend away. What can't you fit in the Haval H6? There's a lot you can do with a car like this, and I like that about this car. Does this family 5-seater SUV become the ultimate when you're looking for a car from the Chinese manufacturers? I know from a personal perspective, I visited the Haval factory in Baoding a couple of years ago. From then, I could tell already that the Chinese are investing a lot of money in things like technology and safety. And I have to be honest, the likes of Haval and Chery have done a lot to pull the customers in when it comes to selecting a new family-owned SUV. So apart from the main rival in China, you're looking at other cars like the Mazda CX-5, the VW Tiguan, maybe even the likes of the Kia Sportage. But those cars are not something people will quickly look at, because in this day and age, where interest rates are, people are looking at how further to stretch their money. This one is reasonably priced at 601,000 Rand. So this is what you're getting when you're buying a Haval H6, 2-liter all-wheel drive super luxury. You get a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty. You also get a 5-year, 60,000 kilometer service plan. Now, if you're looking at buying a car, specifically a Haval H6, there are over 350 options to choose from on the Cars.co.za buying and selling platform. Check it out, you won't be disappointed.
Another aspect where this Chery really shines is ride quality. And even though our test car was delivered to us with tires pumped up to 2.8 bar, which is really, really strange, the ride quality is still really, really good. And almost better than the ride quality actually is the little amount of noise which is coming through into the cabin in terms of wind noise and in terms of tire roar. It's really impressive how they've managed to get the NVH levels down, the noise, vibration and harshness in this car. It just feels like a well put together product. And then not only is it an impressive product as it is, but then you get impressive backup from Chery as well. So you get a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty, and then a 7-year, 150,000 kilometer service plan, which I find bizarre. I can't think of another car maker which offers a service plan longer than the warranty, but that's what you get on this Tiggo 8 Pro Max. And then of course there's Chery's famous 1,000,000 kilometer engine warranty, which I think, to be honest, is a little bit of marketing spin. I mean, I'm not saying they won't stick to their promise, but it only applies to the first owner. And who's going to keep their car for 1,000,000 kilometers? I just don't really see that being a reality. But it is a nice to have, I suppose. And that package of backup makes this one of the better protected products on the market right now in South Africa. And then in terms of safety, I mean, you've just got a full raft of safety features here. ABS, EBD, vehicle stability control. It's a veritable alphabet soup of safety functions. And then you've got 7 airbags as well, which is one more than the Haval. And you've also got adaptive cruise control, so it'll keep the distance to the car in front of you. And then it's got forward collision assist, brake assist. It's got rear collision alert. The car is basically constantly monitoring all the traffic around you, and then it will alert you if something is about to happen. If you don't take action, then the car will brake itself. What's been amazing for me as a car journalist over the last, well, pretty much my entire adult life, is that the adoption of Chinese brands has gone from basically zero to, well, the Chinese brands being almost at the top of the sales charts. It's been something really fascinating to watch. And so it doesn't seem like the badge on the nose matters to South Africans so much anymore. And that's really what a lot of people pay for, or used to pay for at least. So now it's down to product, and product for product, this is as good as a Hyundai, it's as good as a Kia. In my opinion, it's as good as a Mercedes-Benz, to be honest. So if the Chinese don't have to compete via the badge on the nose anymore, well, then I think it's easy to see why these things are selling so strongly. Now look, at the end of the day, looks are always subjective, but to me, the Chery just looks a little bit fancier than the Haval. It looks a little bit more expensive, and I suppose that's because it is a bit more expensive. But in terms of the school run parade, I don't know, I don't think you'd be disappointed in either car, but I think the Chery just edges the Haval in terms of exterior look and styling. The thing is, to make a good product these days in the car world, you need to spend money. And I'm not sure if we could classify this Chery as cheap anymore. In fact, it is about as expensive as, say, anything from Korea. It's still a lot cheaper than the Germans, that's for sure. But you can get into, say, a Kia Sportage or Hyundai Tucson for similar money to this. However, if you want the top spec Tucson or top spec Sportage, then you're spending another 100,000 Rand over and above this Chery Tiggo 8. So I suppose it depends. Do you want something from a more established brand, or do you want something from a newer brand that has all the tech that your heart desires?
Let me quickly take you through the inside of the Haval H6. Nice contrast on the interior, specifically the play on the black and on the silver, which carries on from the doors and onto the dashboard, and even here on the center console. Now, it's got two cup holders, very nicely placed to allow for different sizing of cups or cans, whatever you're drinking. And then I like the play on the gear shifter. It's not the conventional gear shifter. In fact, to go to park, neutral or drive, you just need to switch it up to the right or the left and then press park with a button. It's an electric handbrake here in the center. There's some storage here, which is quite adequate, and additional storage underneath here on this floating center console. Let's look at the steering wheel quickly. It's got pedal shifters, making it quite simple to get through your gears. And then it's got cruise control, which is actually not obtrusive in any way. It's actually very nicely located there. You've got two interfaces here. Of course, this is the interface for your infotainment. And then there's the one here, which is the speedometer, completely digital, which I think is a very nice touch on this car. Of course, it's got a wireless charger, which I tried and works very well. And then, of course, you think about the comfortable feel of the car. When I am in this driving position, I tell you, I want to do one thing. I want to get on the road and I want to do the long road. You know why? Because the car is super comfortable from this driving position. Even the steering wheel size. I love how it feels when it's in between my arms. It's one of those cars that make you want to get in, start, and hit the road. Okay, so I'm planted right at the back of the driver. I literally jumped out of the driver's seat to come sit here. Lots of legroom here. There's some storage here on the back seat. Nice and comfortable with the armrest as well. 3-point seat belt, fits and goes in easily. There's an armrest here with two cup holders. And of course, the third passenger has a normal seat belt as well. There's two USB charging points here, which is great for the long road. Means I can sit here on my cell phone and select a track and actually enjoy the road trip. And I mean, look at that. I can look at the stars, I can look at the sun. I do like the lighting in the back of the H6 for sure.
Welcome to the interior of the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max, and the first thing I'd like to show you is the intro jingle that this car plays when you get in. So let me see if I can activate that. Come on. Tonight on E! Sounds like an 80s action movie. I love that so much. You can turn that off if that gets annoying, because you hear it every time you get in the car. Whew, okay, that's a good one. Right, let's move on to the rest of the interior. Immediately, it's just a really slick execution of an interior. Look how these aircon buttons are integrated into this panel. I think that's just brilliant. It's very fancy in here. I do get the feeling though that they bought a Mercedes-Benz and then using some tracing paper designed their interior. Electric windows all around, which I'll now use to cut out this geese.
Economic mode entered.
Apparently I'm also in economic mode. So Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, navigation built in. The navigation is called Turbo Dog 9. There it is. That's the name of the navigation system for it, for some reason. You've got voice activation as well. You've got a monster Sony sound system, wireless charging pad over here, 2 drinks holders, a bin which you can cool with your air conditioning, which is quite nice. Electric seats all round as well. And then how's this for a nice touch? On this seat, there are seat controls so that the back passenger can move the seat forward if they want more leg room or more knee room. That's a really, really nice touch. Now keep in mind that everything I've mentioned in here is standard on the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max. And I think the only thing missing here, heated and cooled seats. That's it. That's the only thing I would want for in this car. Now the key difference between the Chery Tiggo 8 and the Haval H6 is that the Tiggo has 7 seats. It has a third row of seats behind the second row of seats. That sounds quite obvious actually. And to get into that third row, you have to come to this side of the car where this seat sort of moves and slides forward out of the way. And then your 6-year-old should be able to climb into the back there. Now these second row of seats actually fold in a 60-40 split, so you can slide this forward or this forward to create more legroom for your rear passengers. So that's all quite clever. But let me give you a tour of these seats, because it is quite well appointed back here. So you've got 2 USB ports, one type A and one type C. That's quite nice. You've got drinks holders in your center armrest. You have a proper third safety belt as well. That's very important. And then for me, the highlight of this rear seat is that the panoramic roof, which also tilts and slides, comes all the way back over your rear passengers' heads, and it just creates this really lovely, light and airy atmosphere. Right, the third row of seats. Now, I'm not going to crawl into the back here because, well, I'm getting old and I might never be able to get out again, and then I'll just spend the rest of my life in the back of a Chery Tiggo 8. So I'll just show you them from here. Now, these are good for kids. I would say up to about 8, 10, maybe 12 years old. Adults, maybe short journeys. But as you can see, this row does slide forward, so you can create more legroom. But the rear seats are quite well appointed. They get their own aircon, their own drinks holders, and proper safety belts. These headrests go up into position, so it's nice and safe. And then if you want, you can drop these down. You get your full boot area and you get a basically flat load space. Right, Jacob, the boots. Now, massively important for families is how much cargo space you get. So why don't you start with your cooler box test and tell me how many cooler boxes you think you can fit into your Haval.
Okay. I can comfortably say 4 cooler boxes.
4. Right,
how about you?
That's not too bad. Now, for scientific purposes, our cooler boxes are the same size. You see how we planned that ahead of time?
That's smooth. That's very smooth.
So the nice thing about this Chery Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I've got a bit of extra length because my car is 7 centimeters longer than yours. So I could fit 2 cooler boxes over here. So this is about a 6 cooler box boot actually, which is pretty impressive. And on top of that, normally with 7-seaters, right, they omit the parcel shelf for some reason, but Chery's been very clever. They've put a parcel shelf in, and not only that, when you don't need it, it fits into a little pocket here, the back of the boot.
A 7-seater with a parcel shelf.
That's it's really important.
Good selling point. Wait, let's see if my parcel shelf actually closes.
It does.
It's a bit of a squeeze, but it actually works.
So, spare tire, next big important thing.
Yes, I have a spare wheel. It's more like a space saver wheel, so it's pretty decent. Your car doesn't have a spare wheel though.
It actually does, right? But it's underneath the body. Now that's quite clever because you get extra boot height, right? But changing a tire in this car is going to be a hack. In fact, I actually recommend getting familiar with the system because it's like a bucky, right? You got to drop it at the bottom of the car. So that's really important to know as well. Electric tailgate?
I got electric tailgate. Do you got electric tailgate?
Yeah, electric tailgate as well.
You got 4 pipes. I don't have 4 pipes.
I got 4 pipes. Your pipes are hidden. Where are your pipes?
There's 2 pipes and they're hidden. And I think we should leave it there. Are you happy with the boot?
Let's just leave it there. Let's just leave it there. Okay, cool. Last call. Bigger boots, here or there? Chery or Haval?
I gotta give it to you.
It's gotta be the Chery, yeah, definitely.
Man, okay, I hate giving it to you, Chery. Goodbye.
Cheers, man. I don't know. Right, now it's time to do something that I've actually been looking forward to. I'm going to jump into the H6, Jacob's going to jump into this, and that means that we get to drive both cars back to back and give you our opinion on which one we think is better.
Cheerio de Siena.
Enjoy.
You enjoy.
See you later.
Catch you later. Hello there from the driver's seat of the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max. You know what I have to say? This car is way more refined than the H6. I can't believe I thought the H6 was an overall better car. I think the finishing, the refinement, the softness of this car definitely is better than the Haval H6. It's got mood lighting, it's got a cool color combination with the leather seats, and it just feels better. I have to admit it definitely feels better. But let's not completely bash the Haval H6, right? There are some qualities on the Haval H6 that are definitely worth mentioning. I mean, this one doesn't have heads-up display, but at the end of the day, it's the money that you're spending, right? For the extra money that you are paying on the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max, what are you getting essentially? Well, you're getting the extra 7th seat. You're also getting a lot of refinement versus the H6. So if it comes down to the money, the chankura, the rands and cents, obviously the Haval H6 is the one to go for. But if I had the extra money, I'm going for the Tiggo 8 Pro Max. Chery definitely outdone themselves with this car. This being the halo car for Chery, it makes a lot of sense. I totally understand now.
Right, we've just swapped cars and I'm in the H6 and this is a car I'm actually quite familiar with. We've filmed it before for the channel. It's a car which sells extremely well in South Africa, but immediately first impressions are that this feels a bit down market compared to the Chery. It's just a bit more plain in here. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it, and in some ways the design is a little bit cleaner, which I quite like, and there's all the stitching on the doors and the stitching on the dashboard, and that's all quite nice, but it just feels a bit more simple. A huge difference for me between this and the Chery is the comfort of the seat. It's just so much harder in here and sort of less supportive. It feels like a seat out of a much more affordable car, let's put it that way, whereas the Chery feels like the seats out of a much more luxurious car. And I know that overall this car is about 70,000 Rand cheaper than the Chery, but to be honest with you, the Chery feels about 200,000 Rand more expensive than the H6. Now, in terms of ride quality and refinement, there's actually not a huge difference here for me. I do feel like the Chery has it edged, but it's almost negligible. You are, however, quite far down on power here, nearly 190 kilowatts in the Chery, 150 in here. So if you're fully loaded, you might miss the power that you get in the Chery, but I think for day-to-day driving, it's fine. This DCT dual clutch gearbox also does a great job of swapping cogs. You don't really know what it's up to, which for me is exactly what you want from a gearbox. But if you're not a motoring journalist and you can actually afford to buy a car and you're looking at the Chery Tiggo 8 and the Haval H6, I highly recommend trying to drive them back to back. Set a bit of time in your day, head to a Chery dealership, drive the Tiggo, head to Haval, drive the H6, and I think you'll probably feel, or hopefully feel, the same things that I'm feeling right now.
So we've been kicking about the Haval H6 4-wheel drive 2-liter and the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max, aka iPhone.
Yeah.
Which one was the better one for you, brother?
So I've spent quite a lot of time in the H6 and I know it is the more affordable car here. And I think that if you really don't need 7 seats, it's not a bad option. But for me, in almost every single aspect, the Chery is just a better car.
I've got nothing else to say. You're right, dude. You're right.
You agree with me?
Let me tell you, first time getting
Yeah.
acquainted with the Haval H6, right? And I just always thought it's a better car. I don't know why. And then I get to drive the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max. Yo. Refined, soft, smooth. The finishing just feels more like, it's like quality, man.
Classy, yeah.
It feels classier. It even feels a lot smoother versus the Haval.
Yeah.
So then now I'm looking at it and I'm like, that extra 7 centimeters we were talking about, like, I don't know how I could make up for that extra 7 centimeters in a Haval.
7 centimeters and a 7-year service plan in the Chery, so your backup's a little better in there. I know it's nearly 70,000 Rand more expensive,
Yeah.
but in my opinion, if you can spring for the extra 70, I think that's more car for your money.
I can't believe I'm agreeing again that you're right. And yeah, the winner of this battle is definitely the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro Max.
But it's cool that it won you over and you drove them back to back.
Yeah.
And the Chery won you over.
Good call, brother.
Right, there we go. If you're looking for a used Haval or a used Chery, be sure to check out Cars.co.za, either on our main website or our app. We actually have over 350 H6s for you to choose from. Jacob, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thanks for inviting me to Cape Town, and I'll hope to see you again soon. We should do more of this.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you,
Right.
Chery de Siena. I love you, my boy.
Lekker,
Cheers,
lekker,
cheers,
lekker.
cheers,
Where are you going?
I'm going home.
To the pub.
Joburg.
Cars.co.za.
Not only is Cars.co.za the best place to find your dream car, but it's also the easiest place to sell your current car. Check out the sell car section on our main website. Simply list your car's details and all of our dealers will take bids on your car. You just choose the highest price. Boom, your car's gone. On to your next one. Right, thanks very much for watching the video. Okay, I think I'm done. Yeah, I'm finished now.
A lifetime guarantee on all repairs is a lifetime of sidestepping, tackling and modeling your speedos happily. Budget, the official insurer of good South Africans.